Episode number 20 of the Soxcast. And who better to bring on than we got two great guests and already, heading to a big time baseball program. They were just high school kids when they were here in Utica a year ago. Now they're first year collegiate baseball players at the University of Kentucky. Our guys, Michael Dallas and Tanner Kemp. Guys, this was a long time in the making, but it's about time we got you here on the show.
For sure. Excited, man.
So, let's start first and foremost. So I know Dallas was here in Utica first. And so coming in, obviously, when you're high school seniors, you want to enjoy, this is my last summer of freedom before I play, at the next level of college baseball, Division I, Power 5, big time baseball. And for you, Michael Dallas, what was that assignment like for you, like to have, you don't have really summer freedom, you get to play summer baseball, but in the same way, yes, you're going somewhere different, but in a way it is freedom because you're still playing baseball.
Yeah, man. It was definitely a good opportunity. It was obviously the first time I had moved away from my parents. I've had to live pretty much on my own. Me and TK lived in an apartment together. We literally had to cook our own food. We did everything together. And for me, that was a first for sure. But still, yeah, after my high school baseball season ended, I think I literally had 2 days, maybe tops, before I left for New York, which is crazy. So yeah, I pretty much, my whole entire summer was spent in Utica. And I think I came home after Utica was finished, and maybe I had a week before I had to come right back up to Lexington. So, the whole summer was definitely spent in Utica, which, it was a good experience for me, so I didn't mind it.
And for you, Tanner, you came along a week later. What was the adjustment? You have more time, to just do last second things at home before coming to Utica. But what was that adjustment like for you?
It was definitely a transition in itself, because I ended up coming late because of high school graduation. So Dallas was, texting me kind of saying, hey, this is what's going on. Be ready for this, that. But I kind of didn't really expect any too much. But then when I got there, obviously, like Dallas said, it's a big transition coming straight from high school, because, I'm just at graduation with all my family, friends, all that. And then you kind of, for me, it was a 14-hour drive up there. And then it's no one. It was like Dallas said, it was just me and him. We did everything together. No cooked meals ready for you, and nothing like that. So it was definitely an experience, but it was definitely one that was needed.
Talk about cooking your own meals, really, maybe for the first time ever, really on your own. What were some go-to dishes at, like Casa de Dallas at TK?
Dallas's salmon. That's
the
fire.
Need it. Salmon was huge. I got into salmon kind of my senior year. My dad helped me cook it a few times, cook it with some buddies a few times. And then when I got up there, we had to have it a few times. So that was definitely one of the meals that were more enjoyable. We always cook up some chicken and rice, normal.
Yeah, chicken, rice, and eggs every meal.
Yeah, the funny thing is, literally, I'm here at the Big East Women's Basketball Tournament. I had eggs this morning, and they weren't really well done. They were scrambled. I could use something other than scrambled, and I would trust TK cooking my meals, even though you're still
TK knows his way around the kitchen.
I'm there.
Oh yeah, and speaking of cooking up, at bats wise, both of you were solid, but TK specifically really stood out as a guy who was, getting a lot of runs, extra base hits, finishing with over a 300 average. And again, Tanner, you got here a week after Dallas did. How did you feel like you assimilated into a really just loaded lineup and just a great outfield? Because not only did you have yourself who manned left field, you got Harris in center and a monster hitter in Lou in right.
Yeah, I just try not to make it too big. You got to know that you belong there and just do everything you can to help the team win. And when it happens to boost your stats or help you out individually, that's great. But in the midst of it, you just got to have fun. Harris, that's my guy. I was with him, 24/7 pretty much. He basically lived with us, and you just got to have fun with it, not think too much, not press too much, not get sped up. I'm having conversations all the time with Harris in the outfield. I'm talking to Dallas, I'm talking to all those guys and just not really thinking too much. Then you go up and at bat, stay loose, and you're better than the pitcher. And then, you don't really pay attention to the stats until the year's actually over.
And it's crazy thing, Dallas is a damn good player in his own right, and this offense was so good. You were at the bottom of the order, Dallas. Was that something where going in high school where you're going to stand out? You're used to hitting at the top. Do you think the bottom of the order was a bit of a nice pace for you, knowing that pitchers weren't going to be as keen on you?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely different, in high school, always hitting 2-3 hole your whole life. I mean, it's always good going to a different place where people don't know who you are. Maybe like it's a different scenery. Like you have to adjust to a lot of different things. Like it was definitely good for me to kind of experience something else than everyone knowing who you are and always being at the top of the order and always being that dude. So like it was definitely a good experience.
And speaking of, just transitions to, obviously high school baseball versus collegiate baseball as a sport is different in so many ways because you're going up against, more grown men at this point. But the atmosphere and the overall game of itself and how it's done and just the environment of all of it, that, especially in the summer collegiate, realm, so much different. And you got a good taste of what summer collegiate baseball is actually like, with just the zaniness, with all the on-field promos, and of course when you guys scored, which you did a lot of, pumping it up. And I know TK's more of an EDM guy, so I bet that was right up your alley.
I'm actually not a huge EDM guy, but
I thought you were. Someone told me you were, and whoever that was a liar.
Oh, they're a liar for sure. But when the teams score and you gotta get hype, it doesn't matter what you play. We're gonna get going in the dugout.
And I mean, Dallas, you must have had to tell TK like, hey, this is what we're doing when we score runs. And it's one thing to like go in there like, okay, I know what we're doing, but like it's another thing to actually participate in and then have the fans like embrace it and turn it into something that became obviously bigger than the team itself.
Yeah, I think the fans actually made it kind of what it was. Like, obviously, the guys in the dugout enjoyed it, but like everyone else in the stands, like doing it along with us, kind of like made it the much better experience. So I think kind of the fans kind of hopping in with us kind of made it what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you're not really pumping up your team. Like the team's already excited. You scored. You're pumping up the crowd, so they get excited.
And they certainly did. And, we do want to credit a lot of those fans for, in some of the conditions in Utica, you saw it firsthand. Like, some of these conditions, especially when it's pouring out, absolutely horrific. And on one specific night against the Watertown Rapids, a team that, trust me, everyone, including myself, got sick and tired of seeing so often. I know you two can specifically, harp on that. But on this particular night, this is a back and forth game. You guys go up a lot. Watertown comes back, and you guys are down 2 or 3 runs going to the bottom of the ninth. And I think Dallas was the guy who tried to either start the rally or was in the middle of the rally when you guys were trying to make this big comeback against a reliever who had been dominating you the last few innings. But Mother Nature got in your way multiple times. So Dallas, for you, one of those rain delays was in the middle of your at bat. What do you remember?
Yeah, I literally think like 2 or 3. I think we started the at bat at least twice. Like I remember it was definitely like raining, and I was like, all right, like it'll be fine. Like I'll be able to just get through this at bat. And then it's like the first pitch, and it just starts raining harder and harder. And I'm trying to like get pine tar, get new gloves, keep my gloves dry. And I think I literally swing one time, and my whole entire hand comes off the bat. And I look at the umpire, I'm like, dude, really? Is this really what we're about to do? And he's like, yeah. And he calls it. And then we sit there for freaking however long it was, 30 minutes. And then we go try to start it again. Then right as we start, it comes pouring down again. That night was crazy. It felt like that ninth inning took like 2 hours to get through, but it was definitely worth it in the end.
And I'm trying to remember who scored the winning run. Because I think at that point, I think you may have scored. Dallas might have scored the tying run.
Yeah, I think that was that. Yeah, I think I scored the tying run, but I don't remember who was behind me. But yeah, it was crazy.
And for a guy like Ramo, who, by the way, wasn't even supposed to be on the permanent roster and earned his spot because of, I think he had a 7 RBI night against the Diamond Dogs early in the year. But for him to have that moment walking off, I mean, on a walk, I mean, that's unceremonious, but I mean, to go through all those rain delays and that nonsense to come out on top against a team that obviously you finished way above in the standings. I mean, anytime you win walk-off style must have been super rewarding.
Yeah, it was definitely rewarding, especially an added piece to that was Ramo finishing it off. Man, Ramo is one of the best human beings I've ever met. And that dude has been through a lot. And just for him to be such a good dude all the time, especially with everything he's experienced, man, like I wanted nothing more than that dude to like have some success, have some personal success. Like he always wants the team to have success and he always contributes that. But like for him to have some personal success that also leads to the team success, like that made me more happy than anything really.
Yeah, no doubt.
Now, we talk about divisional battles. I mean, you saw Watertown a lot. We obviously saw the Diamond Dogs a lot, and, they gave you some fits, but, like seasons, I think you split the season series. Now, obviously, the most intense battles came against the Auburn Doubledays. Your other walk-off win was against the Doubledays in the second game of a doubleheader. The first game, though, it was I decided to turn back the clock. It was for 2000s night, but just a nice little throwback before that second game. And for that game, like for the guys that were in the lineup, all 2000s walk-up music, starter, for the starting pitcher to the starting position players and then onto the relievers. And most people don't know this. So a couple of things. Number one, I'll start with Michael Dallas, who song with that night was a Millie, a classic by Lil Wayne, who, and by the way, Michael Dallas had never heard of that song prior to that. I mean, I don't want to clown you saying you don't have any taste or that, but but you kept that the rest of the year. I mean, that's kind of like, would you say one of those impromptu things like, well, it worked, I'm just going to stick with it the rest of the way?
Yeah, man. Like I'm not a big music guy, so obviously I don't know like a throwback song. So like somebody told me right before they play, they're like, hey, you should use a Millie. I was like, all right, go ahead and play it. Like sure, like I don't care. And so when they played, I was like, all right, this is a banger. Like this is hard. So I was like, yeah, just keep it. Like I think I did good that day. So I was like, yeah, like why not just keep the song? So like it just kind of stuck.
And the funny thing is, on the lighter side, we got to hear Tanner, who got to play in this game. His walk-up song was in the middle of a bit of the lighter side, which was, I still laugh at this, but I mean, I laugh because of just the sentiment. But old school Justin Bieber, One Less Lonely Girl, which you also kept for the remainder of the year. Why old school Biebs? And I'd love to hear more about just like you must like Justin Bieber a lot, man.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I love Justin Bieber, man. You can't go wrong with Justin Bieber. But I just remember I had two of my 3 walk-up songs were pretty like more serious tone and more like, I'm gonna go after you, like really kind of like get after it. And then I just kind of, as soon as I heard that one on 2000 night, I was like, I gotta keep it. Like it's comic relief. Like I was hitting good with it, and the crowd like loves when you just have like not a dumb walk-up song, but something that like it's kind of upbeat, like gets the crowd to like laugh, remember the song. And then but in reality, you're a dog, like you're at the plate, like people like aren't really expecting it, but you have that loose, like fun way you play with that walk-up song.
And I think it's really funny that you bring that up, because one of those guys that had one, but again, it just fit him so well. And I just love talking about the local guys specifically, and because they just play a huge role, not because they're veterans on this team, but also because they're from this area and they know a lot about the team and just the area. But Ryan Enos with Dua Lipa, I mean, that was just literally a match made in heaven. And of course, but Dewey was great in his own right too. I mean, unfortunately, he had that arm setback at the very end of the year. But I mean, how important were those two guys? I mean, I know Dewey was a two-way guy, and Enos, being that rock for y'all at the top of the lineup.
Yeah, man, Enos is a dog. Like he gets after it. Like you look at him, like obviously he's on the shorter stature side, but that does not hold him back at all. Like he is a dog. He is letting it fly. I remember him hitting like 2 balls at the Diamond Dog Stadium, which is like 350 something in left field, which is crazy. And on any other field, he hits bombs. When he hits 2 balls right down the line that are 30 feet over any other fence, but they hit the fence at that stadium. And I just remember laughing with him about that. But yeah, Enos was huge. He played a solid third, sometimes second base. And then Dewey could play, man. I mean, his bat was great. His presence on the mound was great. Like both great guys along with great players.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing I remember about Ryan was before I even got up there, you guys had already played a game or two, and I remember like following the games, and he hit like a home run like the first game or one of like the first couple games.
Yeah, it was the second home game, and it was a leadoff bomb.
Yeah, and I just remember I was like, dang, I was like, this guy can hit, because I knew you got like it wasn't a small field. So then when I finally got up there, like he was just, the nicest guy in the world, like veteran on the team, veteran in college baseball. And, he just kind of like took all the younger players in. He was super nice guy, really just a great ball player too. And then Dewey, I mean, that's everyone's guy. That's, everyone loves Dewey. And then I remember one of the games he hit a home run that they called foul, but it was one of the longest foul ball home runs I've ever seen. And I was just like, this guy can hit, like this guy can swing.
I mean, let's be real. I mean, that was a fair ball, and anyone who says otherwise, quite frankly, you should probably get an eye exam. I'm just going to put that out there right now. But that final week of the season, I mean, this is arguably your first time being part of like a real pennant chase in baseball. And the first leg of that was Pink the Park Night. I mean, I know, you might have seen, breast cancer awareness games, as I'm oddly enough wearing a pink shirt with a Susan G. Komen tie. That is what it is. But to be a part of it and playing in one yourself in front of a capacity crowd at Murnane, I mean, that must have just gotten you fired up. And especially with both you guys in live, and then watching Rosie shove with his grandmother, a 2-time breast cancer survivor, throwing out the first pitch and watching him go out there, shove for 5 innings, and then you guys just dominating in a 12-1 rout.
Yeah, man, it was definitely fun. I think the whole experience around it was good. Like getting to kind of put on for the city of Utica and everything that went around it, especially Rosie. Like Rosie's an awesome dude. I'm glad he got to do that for his grandmother, and like everything. It was just a great time. I think everybody was like unusually like happy, like everything about that day. Like everyone was happy, excited. Number one, the jerseys fit really well. Everybody's arms look huge. So like that was another plus. So I think everything about that day was awesome, especially on top of a win against a really good team.
Yeah, I mean, Rosie's a dog. Everyone expected that from him. And then, which is with the whole experience that you were saying. And then, like, it felt like, it didn't really feel like a baseball game, like it felt like just kind of like playing in your backyard. Like there was a bunch of people there. We were just kind of all having fun with it. And I mean, those are when like, you produce the best wins, which we did. But I mean, it was a lot of fun.
And TK is an outfielder. I mean, I'd love to hear about your perspective of just watching Harris Williams. Arguably, maybe that's the best catch you've ever seen in your life in that game in the 9th inning.
Oh yeah. I mean, I like I said, that's my guy. Like he literally lived with me in Dallas every single day. He moved much of his stuff into our room. Like he was my boy. So then seeing him make that catch, I was hyped. I was happy for him.
Now, continuing on, I mean, chasing Auburn was one of those things where, like, whenever you play them in Utica, you see yourselves at your best. Auburn going there, runs were at a premium whenever you played them at Falcon Park. And speaking of runs at a premium, that's what it was like the last time you played them before playoffs at Murnane. You won 5-0. Dewey, as I mentioned, went out with an arm issue after 2 innings on the mound. But for you guys to be in the field and watch Figgy arguably pitch the game of his life, 7 innings of no runs, 1 hit ball and 8 Ks. I mean, I even said with Harris, I mean, you two could even have bothered bringing your gloves out there because you wouldn't have had to do anything because that's how good he was.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like what was so great about just the team being so close, because like you said, like he was pitching lights out. So, I mean, we're just, obviously we're ready every pitch, but like, we're just kind of hanging out back there waiting for a ball. But like, I'm talking to Harris, I'm talking to Schmack. Like, we're just kind of chilling out there. We're waiting for something to happen. But I mean, it's almost like we don't want something to happen because he's pitching so good. So we're not going to change anything about that. But it was great. Just honestly chilling back there and watching him do his thing.
Yeah, I think that was one of the best performances I was saying out of Figgy. Like that dude, he wanted it that game. The energy was there, like everything. Like he was feeling it. Like I remember, I think he went through like a kind of decision making with like his next like college he was going to attend, and literally I think like he made that decision based on that game. Like he got like a lot of interest off of that game because like that was fun to watch. One of the most impressive, just absolutely dominating. I mean, literally they looked like they had a hole in their back the way he was making them look like all night long, just throwing flying saucers with that slider he has. Like, oh my gosh, it was fun to watch.
Yeah, and I mean, no matter how good you were, I mean, he was gonna make him look like, and I know you're gonna like when I say this word, trash, which
Yeah,
I know it'll trigger somebody in Auburn, which I'm not gonna say his name, but I think y'all know who I'm talking about. But it's a complete 180 the next night for a chance to clinch the playoffs against Watertown. You're both in the lineup, and I mean you're all of you are just mashing the hell out of the baseball against a depleted Watertown pitching staff. I mean, you expect to put up a lot of runs to end a regular season, but a 20 burger, not even you two, as good as you two are, not even you could predict that.
No. That's I mean, it's baseball. That score doesn't happen really a lot. But the fact that we put that number up, like it just shows you kind of how like not only like the talent we had, but like we were just so loose and so like together as a team that like we wanted to put up as many as we could.
Yeah, I think at that time, man, we were just having fun. Like we didn't get like nothing else mattered. Like I think in the last like 2 weeks of the season, we were just showing going. Like we didn't take like BP, we didn't take anything because like we were playing so well together. Like we were just playing free and we were just having fun. And we were just going out and absolutely dumping on people that last like 2 weeks of the season. So like that was just a part of it. I think it all just came together really in that game and just showed how good we were.
And TK, I know I owe you for, I mean, everything came together, and I know TK was my fry guy that night. He delivered, and I know you remember that because I told your family about that prior to the game, and you came up big. I think it might have been first or second at bat, and you got it done for me. Got all the big time stuff for all the fans for free stuff, got it knocked out early. And then for the single game run record to be broken, to hit the 20 mark, I mean, I know you two know how to hit the hell out of the ball, but for a guy who doesn't really get to do that a lot, I mean, how fun was it to watch Angel? And I think Dallas was in the on-deck circle when this happened, for him to go deep for that 20th run.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. Especially for Angel, man. I know he had kind of been through some earlier stuff in the year. I think he was kind of dealing with an injury, a lagging injury. But I mean, man, he absolutely got all of that ball. And like Angel is the funniest guy in the world, funniest guy in any locker room he'll ever be at. Like his personality is definitely one of the most extravagant personalities I've ever met, in a nice way to put it. But I love that dude. I love the way he plays. He's a dog. Like for him to just kind of absolutely mash that ball to kind of end it was awesome.
Yeah, he's a scrappy player. I mean, he's just such a likable like person in the locker room, loudest person in the locker room, loudest person on the field. Like, but he played just so scrappy, it's fun to watch. And when he pieced that ball, it was definitely the person you want to have to do it.
Yeah, I mean, to have that exclamation point come from arguably the most unlikely source in the lineup, I think that just made it more special, and it was a great way to clinch a playoff spot for yet another season here in Utica. But I mean, unfortunately, we should have had a home playoff game, but because of a double booking, didn't happen. So going to Falcon Park, you could really size it up to just being one of those nights where it just wasn't your night against an Auburn team with home field advantage at Falcon Park and a pitcher who was just doing his thing, and Rosie not being up to that 0.61 ERA like he was all summer long. I mean, you could put in your own words, but I mean, I think I could sum it best, it's baseball, and when it's not your night, and especially when it's not at the right time, you can be sent packing early.
Yeah, I think the definition of not your night was us that day. I mean, we were absolutely mashing balls, and every single ball we hit was a line drive right at somebody. I remember their center fielder tracking down like literally like 4 doubles.
Yeah.
Like we were like rounding first, and this guy makes a diving play in left center field, and you're just like, oh my gosh. It was just one of those days where we were hitting everything hard and nothing was dropping, and they were getting kind of some scrappy end off bats, cue balls, everything was dropping for them and nothing was dropping for us. So it just is what it is, man. Baseball's a weird sport.
Yeah, I mean, Auburn's home field was already a graveyard in itself. Like ball does not fly there. And I mean, the pitcher, he wasn't overpowering. He didn't have better stuff than the hitters could hit. It was just one of those things where like we're hitting it, we're putting it in play, we're hitting the ball hard, and just not falling.
And I mean, you talk about a graveyard. I mean, I feel like that's what Falcon Park was like. I mean, granted, I know there were some people there, but I mean, it's a graveyard compared to what Murnane would have been like that night if it was going to be an absolute electric factory. And I guarantee you, I mean, they'll probably deny it, but internally they know that they would have been physically intimidated to go play in Utica, knowing how those last 2 meetings there went.
Yeah, I mean, talking about the Pink at the Park night, like I think part of the reason we beat them so bad too is just because the amount of fans, the amount of energy, just the amount of fun everyone was having, how loud it was, all the kids there and all that kind of stuff. So like that obviously played a factor. So when you go to Auburn, they're kind of used to playing in that environment, but when it's a little quieter, the ball doesn't fly, like it doesn't really feel like a playoff game, which I mean, it didn't really affect the way we played a whole lot, but it does affect, the energy that you feed off of.
Yeah, I definitely think, no doubt, in everyone's mind, I think we all know if we play that game in Utica, I think we definitely win that
Yeah,
game.
we win that game 10 out of 10 times.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear, and that's what all these fans want to hear, because not only is your opinion pretty spot on, but I'm pretty sure, I mean, it's scientifically correct. I wouldn't question it. But now for y'all, I mean, you two are just, you were just bright-eyed high school kids coming to Utica. I mean, could you have ever imagined you two becoming, so popular amongst, fans, both young and old, and being two popular cornerstones of a team that won a division title this year in the Central?
I mean, I don't think it was like I don't think it was too much or too like overwhelming in that sense. There's definitely a couple things like that happened that you're like, whoa, like I wouldn't expect that from like a fan, like nothing bad, just like things like, wow, I didn't know like they were like paying attention to me or this and that. Because I mean, high school games, obviously you're representing your school, and going to Utica and representing a different team and having even more fans, you get those couple that are really like invested in you as a player and are just like they're a fan of you. And so that was definitely different, but obviously like that's a great thing. Like it was really fun to have.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, the transition from high school to that, like, yeah, like he said, like as a high school player, you're just putting on for your school. Like that's what you're playing for. Like you're playing for your buddies in your school. But like now, like you're playing for these fans. Like now they're rooting for you and you're like trying to do good. So like they get enjoyment out of that. Like obviously when you do well, like they're gonna have things to talk about, and like they get to talk to you after the game, and then you get to sign whatever. Like that's memories, lifetimes that they make that you can supply. So like obviously doing that for fans, like that's why you play the game.
Yeah, I mean, I remember telling Dallas, I handed him a folder when I got back to the apartment, and some girl, I just had no idea who it was, that took a picture off my Instagram and drew it. And it was a great picture. It was just kind of one of those things I was like, wow, like I didn't think like anyone like cared or like was, paying attention to that and stuff,
Yeah, and I mean, we talk about, I mean, how insane some of these fans are. And I say this in a good way because, I mean, like having that kind of, great energy I think it's a great thing. But I mean, and you talk about signing things. I mean, number one, Eddie's Hype House, that one game was something in itself. And then for Eddie to sign a kid's forehead. I mean, I guarantee you probably have never seen anything like that before, and probably never will again.
Yeah.
So just to, wrap things up, because now, you're now officially in the college baseball grind. At the time recording, you guys had a pretty lengthy but pretty good series opening win over a very good TCU squad down in Lexington. And again, it's really funny. I had a comment on, one of your Instagrams, like going from one shade of blue to the other, down in, and of course I had to tell you, it's a blue day. Yes, it is. But, but I mean, I feel like, like it must have felt good to, like go from wearing the Utica blues to now the Kentucky blues, and going from, your first real, collegiate baseball experience. I mean, yes, it's different compared to 2 months in Utica versus a 4-month grind in the actual college ranks. So what would you say for each of you the most important lessons you learned from your 2 months here in Utica that you've taken with you to Lexington and throughout your however many years you spend down there?
Yeah, man, for me, I'd really just say like you always have to have like a love of the game. Like you can't let the way like the season is actually going like take away from like why you play the game. Like day in, day out, like you just have to do everything you can, like prepare as well as you can and just play as hard as you can and have fun. Like baseball is hard enough game. Like you can't push, like you can't get sped up. You can't like try to do anything more, especially because now like this is in college. Like you think you have to try harder, like you don't. Like you just have to be you and play ball like you always have. Like at the end of the day, it's a pitcher on the mound just like it was in high school and just like it was in your middle school. So like it's nothing different. So just be the same guy you've always been and just everything will fall into line.
I would say along the same things that Dallas was saying. That's definitely like something you need to remember, because you can't make it bigger than it is, because it is just a game. You're playing, like, so a coach that a while ago told me, like, you're playing the ball, you're not playing these other people. Like obviously as you get more mature in your baseball career, like the people get bigger, the people get faster, the people get stronger, but it's still the same ball that you've been playing with your whole life. So obviously the ball moves faster, the ball moves different, but it's still the same basic rules, all that. So you can't get too sped up. And I think another big thing that I took away from this summer is, like, honestly, like, you want good individual stats, you want to win, but like becoming close as a team is a lot more important than like any of those other things, because like I still talk to Harris and Smack and all those guys, like, those are going to be like my friends I'm going to have for like forever. So I mean, yeah, like we won a lot of games, like we all had good summers, but you're not always either going to, be on the playing field, or you're not always going to be doing your best. Like you can't let it get you down, but those guys, they're always going to be there. So becoming close to team and making sure you're a good teammate for them really helps you when either you're not doing good or you're losing, where they can pick you up and then you guys, can kind of pick each other up, and then you guys start winning, which kind of produces it with not even trying to.
Yeah, I think those are like relationships like built for a lifetime. Like, yeah, it's just like one summer playing in Utica, New York. Like, I don't remember the last time I went to New York, but like I literally like Jeff called me the other day right before we played a game and was like messing with me. Like I would never have met any of these guys without spending the summer in New York. And like obviously like baseball is hard and everything, but like you just gotta have fun, like love the people around you. Because if you have fun and you are spending quality time with everybody around you and like building these bonds, like I promise everything else will like fall right into line. Like you are personally going to do good and your team is going to do good. Well, that's how like great teams are built. A great team never started with like, man, we have to win every single game. That they're just playing for each other next to them, and then that's just the result they get at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about to when you were saying, like Dallas had like a little bit of time where he struggled this summer, but like I mean, obviously I live with him, and there was never a time where like you could tell that he was doing bad. Like he was always like same person, same teammate, and like obviously Dallas is a great ball player, and like it's baseball, things are gonna happen. He wasn't playing bad, he wasn't playing super good, like, but he like stayed consistent with his emotions and like being a teammate. And then he came here in the fall to Kentucky and absolutely tore it up. So like it's just somehow at times how the game works. So like as long as you don't press, like you're gonna be fine.
Dallas, I really hope that you did tell Jeff to grow up when he did call you.
Oh, I told him a few things. Don't worry about that. Yeah.
I mean, it was just little things. I mean, I know grow up being one of those things, hum now, and I mean, trust me. I mean, I say hum now. I mean, I literally said it at some point today, just in front of no. I mean, hey, hijinks is what the Soxcast is made for, and I think and like I say hum now, like I mean I literally said it in front of people that probably have never heard that phrase their whole life. So I still said it. I don't care. It's a Utica thing, and again, I take pride in that. And and here in Utica, we take pride, and like we're trying to elevate our program. I mean, the year before you two got here, so 2019 was the first time we had an SEC guy come here, and you were the first duo of SEC guys that we brought in. So we're obviously grateful for you two coming in, helping continue elevate the status of the Utica Blue Sox, and obviously it's a trend that will continue with I believe one or two of your future teammates down the line, and like for a couple high school kids walking into a new environment, something that really is uncharted territory. Navigated it pretty damn well, and we commend you for that. And you two of my favorite guys that I was, glad enough to work with throughout the entire summer. And again, like just happy to see you guys, contending now at Power 5 level at the University of Kentucky. Again, our guest on the Soxcast for episode 20, Michael Dallas, Tanner Kim. Guys, I know it took a long time to plan this out, but I'm glad that we actually got to do this episode of the Soxcast. And I know it was tough to nail this down because you had a long game with TCU today, which you did pull out in the Slugfest. So thanks for the time. Best of luck with your continued series against TCU at the time of recording. And then once that tough grind of the SEC season really gets going, best of luck then. And we hope that the success that you had in Utica only continues down in Lexington.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it,
you.
Timmy. Same as you as well.
Thank you, man.
So it does it for this episode of the Soxcast. Next week, we're going to turn back the clock to 2015 with a guy who won the batting championship at the PGCBL back in 2015. So for this episode's guests, Michael Dallas and Tanner Kidd, I'm Tim Best signing off for the Soxcast for this week. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week.